Okay, well, my story starts as a teenager. When I was a teenager, I was painfully shy, believe it or not. And because I was painfully shy, I was often a victim of bullying. Um, so I vowed to break away from that stigma of being bullied. So I enrolled in community theater. And community theater really taught me a lot about speaking out, looking you in your eye, and saying what I have to say. So now I just say what I have to say and, keep it moving. Um, so, but because community theater taught me a lot about speaking out and gaining that self-confidence, I gained titles as well. First of all, my siblings, they labeled me as bossy because, because I would always hurl orders, you do this, you do that, or I'd give them instructions on how to do things. Secondly, in the military, as a military sergeant, I was deemed as the bitch because I led firmly and fairly, but that didn't always go so well with my male soldiers. And my favorite thing is that I had this awesome professor, and he always told me, Roz, I like you because you speak out with your boldness and your, just confidence, and you keep the class flowing whenever I pose a question and no one else speaks. Roz would always be like, got something to say, and he liked that. Yay, Maurice, wherever you are. But unfortunately, there was an incident that happened to me while I was in the military. In my military career, there was a horrific incident that happened to me. But first of all, let me just tell you this about me. I'm a proud American, a proud military veteran. I served in Desert Storm in 1989, where I earned 3 Bronze Stars for my service. However, in 1989, while stationed in a little town on the outskirts of Stuttgart, Germany, I was a victim of an attempted sexual assault. That assault not only stunned and shocked me, and it was just so traumatic to me, it threw me back into that terrible spiral of silence that I so hated when I was a child and being bullied by people. That also, it just shunned and shocked me because when I was in my military duty in Germany, I went to one of my military leaders who happened to be the equal opportunity officer, and that person told me, if I were you, I wouldn't even mention it again. I was horrified. Here I was, this young woman from South Carolina, going through the most horrific thing that anybody could ever endure. So after I reported that, I was just ostracized. I was shunned. I was isolated. My car was even vandalized. They just did everything to me unimaginable. That incident was so traumatic that it took a terrible toll on me, and I was to the point where I was going to commit suicide. However, I said, this is just too much for me. Let me just go home. So I took a leave of absence, and I returned to the States from Germany for 30 days so that I could try to regroup because, I didn't really want to commit suicide. And I'm saying, there's got to be some kind of answer to this because I wasn't getting it from my military unit. They were just literally just brushing everything under the rug. It was like 30 days had gone by after I had reported it. It was being brushed under the rug as if it was just going to disappear and me disappear too. So when I got back to the States, I went to speak to my congressional leaders, and they were so efficient in unraveling the spiral of silence that I was experiencing by my unit. They were just not helpful at all in Germany. So spoke to the congressional folks in my local town, and they got the ball rolling for me. So 30 days later, I went back to Germany, and there was a new hell that was unleashed on me. My unit was furious because they had gotten a call from my congressional representative to the battalion leaders in reference to me thwarting that spiral of silence. And of course, things continued to be awful up until, the court martial. which happened a few months after I got back. And to my discovery, I learned that I was not the only victim when they did the investigation. There were at least seven others of us that had gone through the same thing, but they were just too afraid to speak out and say anything. I was the only one, and I'm like, wow, it happened. So the court martial went on, and eventually the guy that liked harassing women and doing crazy things, sexually assaulting women, he was dishonorably discharged from the military. And I guess my takeaway from that experience was it was just so traumatic that if I would have just followed through and not did anything, committed suicide, yeah, I would have went away. No one would have ever known about this, and I would have just disappeared. This incident, it did teach me that there is a price you pay when you speak out. However, the price is even more dangerous when you just stay silent. Because if I would have stayed silent, I could have killed myself, and no one would have ever heard about that again. So I feel that my takeaway from that very horrific, traumatic experience, which at the time I didn't know, it was called MST, or military sexual trauma. I was going through that, and I was going through it alone. That experience taught me that you do have to speak out, and it did give me self-confidence and strength to endure whatever, the military taught me to be strong and brave. It taught me to go through that ordeal. It was just so horrific, and I went through it, and I made it through. And because of that, I got my self-confidence, and it has allowed me to, pursue things in life that I want to do. And in spring of 2020, I do plan on completing my degree in communication studies, and I would like to use my education and my personal experience to be an advocate for gender discrimination, women and girls against sexual abuse. I'm Roslyn Meadows. Thank you so much for listening to my story.